everyone! Today is Thursday. I am Miss Radically Accept, and today the subject is emotion regulation. Oh yeah. Before I try to explain what emotion regulation is, I thought that it would be a good idea to explain what emotions are. Um, I know that most of us kind of understand, emotions are like good, feeling good, happy, sad, bad, whatever. But there's a little bit more to what emotions are, and it's kind of important, and I'll explain why after. Alright, so what are emotions? Emotions, they are signals within your body that tell you what's happening. So, something happens and you get an emotion and it's a signal that it is a good thing or a bad thing. We kind of sum it up that way. But there are two kinds of emotions. There are primary emotions, which are the primary signal. It is the first thing you feel when something happens. There's usually no thought process, nothing, just you feel it. It happens, it's there. It's the first thing. And then there are secondary emotions, which are the emotions that come after it's basically your feelings on your feelings. Something happens, you have a primary emotion, and then your secondary emotion is whatever you feel about that primary emotion. And that is how sometimes when you have overwhelming emotions, why things seem to escalate so quickly, because you have one feeling and then all of a sudden you get pounded with like 8 other feelings, which are all secondary emotions. You can have more than one secondary emotion. And that is why it just kind of like and escalates into whatever situation you're in or whatever you're feeling. Yeah. And that is what emotions are. They are the signals that tell you, tell your body to do whatever they decide to do. They are the feelings. What are they for? Why do we have emotions? What's the point of having emotions? Why can't we all be emotionless? Emotions are signals that help you. They help you to survive for like fight or flight. You probably have heard that, fight or flight. They tell you to stay and do whatever you need to do or leave and save yourself. They help you to remember people and situations. They help you cope with situations in life, to communicate with others, avoid pain, and seek pleasure. Oh, those are what they're for. That's why you have emotions. They're there to help you. Sometimes they're not so helpful when you don't understand them, which is why we have emotion regulation. What is emotion regulation and what does it do for you? It is 1, recognizing your emotions. 2, overcoming the barriers to healthy emotions. 3, reducing your physical vulnerability. 4, reducing your cognitive vulnerability. So reducing physical vulnerability so that you're not vulnerable physically, and cognitive is your brain, like reducing that vulnerability in your head. 5, increasing your positive emotions. 6, being mindful of your emotions without judgment, which is really hard. 7, emotion exposure. 8, doing the opposite of your emotional urges, which is basically the opposite of emotion, which is your behavior, doing something different. Urges, behavior. 9, and problem solving. So that is what it is supposed to help you do, because a lot of the time when we are overly emotional, we tend to try to compress those feelings and not acknowledge them, and that makes it very hard to get through life and to do things. why is it important in DBT to recognize these things and to know what emotions are? Over time, when you are overly emotional, you start to lose what you're upset about. It's incredibly hard sometimes to recognize what the initial problem is. And when we get into that pattern of we don't recognize that, why we're upset and like what we're upset about or what the primary issue is, like the primary feeling, primary emotion, it just becomes bigger than it has to be. By learning what our emotions are, we learn to understand ourselves and we learn to overcome those issues, and we learn what patterns we get into when we start to feel certain things. When we, maybe when you're sad, you go and you do something destructive and you never really realize that, first you're sad and maybe your secondary emotion is that you're angry and like regretful. I feel like there's a word for that. There's other emotions that start to stir up, and it just becomes this domino effect of like all these different things that are wrong, and you go out and you do something destructive. By breaking down how you feel and realizing that your primary emotion is that you're sad, and that this is why, and this is the problem, and this is what causes you to do these things, you realize your pattern, as in like that is that what I just said. You realize your pattern, and it helps you to be capable of making changes later on so that you can recognize, okay, I'm sad. This is what I do when I'm sad, and this is what I'm going to do now because I don't want to do these kinds of things anymore. And that is why emotion regulation is probably one of the most important parts of DBT. In the next few videos, I'm going to do more, like get into it more. There's some different skills that you can use. But I figured I would make a video first about what emotions were and what emotion regulation was all about so that we kind of understand what we're doing, because I can tell you a bunch of skills, but if you don't understand why we're doing it, then it's kind of useless. So here's the first video to that, and hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions or you didn't understand, I know I kind of go through it a little fast. Even though these videos are kind of long, I kind of try to get through it quickly so that it's not like ridiculous. If you have any questions or you need help or anything or whatever, or need someone to talk to, I'm always around. You can Facebook me or message me on here or whatever. I've got blogs and bullshit and things that can be helpful. Anyway, if you have any questions, just let me know. Send me a message. I'm always around. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe or like or whatever you feel like doing. Or watch this video again. That'll be cool too. Have a great day. Have a great week. You will see me soon.